Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. Josh here for the MVP Cast. My special guest today and the headline master himself, Mr. Henry Klauke. Welcome, Henry.
Hey, Josh. Thanks for having me on here, bud.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. For those of you who don't know, Henry is, like I said, the headline master, and he does that through email marketing and other various sources, right? Why don't you share a little bit on how you specifically use headline in branding and messaging to create sales and market folks?
Sure thing, Josh. And it's funny how things evolve and change in business, right? And I found myself in this really niche area of headlines because really any marketing message, the most important piece is the headline, bar none. And so that's really where I put my focus. And in email marketing, which is another area I love to focus on, it's the subject line, which is oh so important. And it's really a delicate balance that you have to strike in a headline between what's in store, what am I going to get if I read this article or buy this course or go to this event, whatever it's promoting, versus you want that curiosity piece that, ooh, tell me more. Part of the headline. So it's a really fun place to play, and it impacts your whole ROI in a big way.
Yeah, no, I can definitely testify to that. I mean, thinking back, emails were always kind of something that I wasn't ever personally really good at as far as content writing and headlines and things like that. I would kind of just dabble around and kind of pull ideas from emails that I was given or sent to me, and other various pieces around to really kind of make something work essentially. One thing that I found that seems to have pretty decent results, I mean, you can obviously tell me what your thoughts are, is asking a question in the subject line.
Yeah, a question is a really powerful tool, right? And the psychology behind it, because I know Josh is a master at sales, so really, the sales and the marketing go hand in hand. And so when you ask a question, it's almost like irresistible. The person needs to know the answer, or if they already have an answer in mind, then it's like, well, I wonder what Josh's take is on it if they ask that question. So it's like when you pose a question, especially, I have a presentation on how to write killer email subject lines, and one of the tips is to use questions. Right? You could give a statement like, "Health insurance is affordable," for instance. That could be your subject line, and people are just like, "Okay, so what?" And you could say, "Is health insurance really affordable?" Whoa! Now I want to read that. It's so tough, but yeah, it's a great tool.
It's kind of like the whole rule of thumb, like curiosity killed the cat, right? Yeah. Like you create enough mystery and intrigue that the person wants to know more.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I'll bring this out. I love speaking on this. One of my favorite tenets of copywriting and marketing is the whole point. I think this is from Joe Sugarman, one of the greats. I could be wrong on that, but I know it's a classic copywriter who said this. The whole purpose of your subject line or your headline is to get them to read the first sentence. And the whole point of the first sentence is to get them to read the second sentence. You never want to assume that your audience is going to read anything, right? You're bargaining with their time. So you want to make it as juicy, as irresistible, as delectable as possible. Each sentence, each word, really.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's great stuff. Now, you mentioned, Henry, that you do, is it a demo on this, or what? How did you say it?
Well, I have a presentation that I give. It's all on email subject lines. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I also have my headline class, if I can plug that real quick. It's
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so it'll be Fridays from now on at It is 9 a.m. Pacific, noon time Eastern. It was a really loose structure. I've been doing it for like 3, 4 weeks now. I just invite people to come on, bring their headlines, and we workshop it on it together. Where I'll give my input, from all my studies, and then we bounce it off the group and see what everyone else thinks, because that's really the most important piece of this whole puzzle. Well, I mean, I always like to say the best marketer in the world is the marketplace. You just got to test it and see what people like. I'll give you all my tips from what I've seen, and it all comes from studying the marketplace. So, like what you said earlier, Josh, if I take pieces from other people that seem to work, that's what you do. That's what you do. If it works, why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's
So
great fun.
where are you hosting that? Are you doing that on Play for Success, or is that on your
Yep.
own thing?
It's on Play for Success on Zoom here, where Josh
Okay.
and I play. You can sign up, just henrysheadlines.com.
There you
Get my
go.
email reminders. Yeah.
That is super easy too. I love that. henrysheadlines.com. And for those of you who are wondering, Play for Success is an affiliate partner, Rook, of ours. And he has basically created a 24/7 stream virtual office place where some of the Alliance members like Henry go in there and host workshops, like he mentioned, talking about headlines. So do check out henrysheadlines.com for that. I want to switch gears a little bit here, Henry, and kind of go into a few different questions,
Yeah.
a little more generalized. My first one is, when it comes to like business and entrepreneurship, my question is what gets you fired up?
That's a great question. I mean, for me, it's really the creative piece.
Mhm.
Being able to create my own life, my own business, it really fires me up. We live in such a consumer world where we're always consuming. It's really refreshing to be the author, be the creator, and that extends to other my clients. How I can customize my packages for them. I don't have to be stuck in any sort of box. There is no box in entrepreneurship, which is so freeing.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I like the way you said that. It just really being able to have that creative flow and the open forum. It brings me back. I had Rook on the show last week, and we were talking about being in business, and one of the things that gets me fired up about being an entrepreneur really is the freedom that I have in the sense of two specific areas of time and earning potential.
Right.
And to me, that's a key aspect that is truly priceless, right? I was talking to a guy yesterday. I'm in another group, and he was saying, he wants to buy an airplane, and it's just like a bizarre idea, but the true methodology behind it is not because he has the money to buy a plane, but that he's interchanging, buying a plane is going to buy him more time because it's less time he's sitting in a commercial airport. It's less delays. He can literally go directly to the airport, hop on a plane, and be in the air in 20 minutes versus being there hours ahead of time. And it's really about shifting the mindset, right? And being able to know what that means to you as an individual, as an entrepreneur. So, for me, key aspect of having the freedom and flexibility of your time and your earnings is huge. And it's interesting because he kind of Root sort of debated it a little bit in the sense that owning a business doesn't necessarily always afford you time and flexibility, but I think it's a matter of perception, right? I mean, probably much like yourself and me personally speaking, if I don't want to do anything the rest of the day, I can literally clear my schedule and not, go do something else. Now, is there a result in that? Well, sure, there is a result, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction potentially. But at the end of the day, we have that ability, right? If I go work for someone else and Wednesday is part of my work week,
Yeah.
well, I either have to call out or give them, that I'm not showing up, right? And then risk my job. So it's just a different paradigm shift, I guess, right? What would you say
Right.
to that?
No, I agree. It is a tough, depending on how you split it. I could see your side, I could see Rook's side. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think it's the misconception that the masses have about freedom of like, yeah, you're just gonna be chilling on the beach, and then you go home and open your mailbox and there's a big fat check. It's like that's not how it works. But
Mm-hmm.
like with on Rook's point, I'd say I put in a lot more hours than I ever did in corporate, but it doesn't feel like I'm working more, if that makes sense. It's like I'm having fun, I'm playing, I'm doing what gets me juiced up. So yeah, it's not work necessarily, and I'm free. Like you said, a lot of times I'll just like take an hour off in the afternoon, go on a nice long walk. I'll come back at work for another 3-4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
but I can go to the doctor's office in the middle of the day. I mean, one of my mentors likes to say, and I love to share this. His name's Joe DiBianca, my coach of almost 2 years, great mentor and friend as well. He says he fits his life into the pockets of his business, which I think that's so profound, because that's really what it is. And you can shift and move things around as you like. You just
Mm-hmm.
fit your life in there instead of fitting your life around this predetermined schedule, like the 9 to 5 that we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that you brought that up, Henry. Actually, that is incredible. And that's exactly what I have strived to do. I mean, there are periods of the year where we're busier, and so I end up working a little bit more, and families a little bit less. But for the most part, I mean, I think having the ability, when you put in effort and hours into something that you're cultivating, with your name on it, and there's an equal result to your efforts, and ultimately it's for you rather than someone else. There's a lot more meaning and freedom within that itself.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a big breakthrough I had recently. Always upgrading my mindset and stuff. I mean, that's what we do. Uh, as entrepreneurs, I mean, we're all pretty driven people and into personal development for the most part. I certainly am.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I from what you said, Josh, it was like in school, in college, in the corporate world, it was always like you have a certain task or you have a certain job to do, and then it's done. You're just on to the next task. It's
Mm-hmm.
like this hamster wheel sort of effect. But in business, you're really building assets, right? It's like, oh, I just wrote my website. It's not like on to the next task. Like, no, I can use that for the rest of my career and keep updating and tweaking it, and it's going to make me money. Which that is just so cool, and so I mean, you really have to experience that to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And in essence, if I heard you correctly, I think what you're saying is really it's about putting in efforts today that will have a duplicating result for the long-term interim, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
It's like, my 8 hours today are not only going to benefit today, but tomorrow, the next day, and the years to come, right? It's almost like in an investing world, it's compound interest, right? You invest $10 and then let that compound over time, and you continue to add 10 to the 10. And so you're adding from this side, plus it's adding from the compounding side. And next thing you know, you got this massive amount, in so many years, right? So that, it's a great point. And I hope, a lot of people need to hear that. They need to be uplifted, right now in our day of society, right? There's a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of fear mongering, I like to say,
Yeah.
going around. And I think that you're proof, I'm proof, that the opportunity is still just as rich out there, and still plentiful, and there's an abundance of people. And with an abundance of people, I always see dollar signs, or opportunity signs, right? If you will, however you want to phrase it. That being said, there's no shortage. There's no shortage. And that's a great point you mentioned about being mindset, right? I had to transition my mindset to think that and to know that and to believe that, because if I go back when I went out on my own, sales was a struggle for me because I had the wrong mindset about it, you know and when I started to see and manifest the abundance, and then the opportunity exist, right? And that if one deal doesn't go through, it's no big deal, right? there's
Right.
there's plenty more. That one wasn't meant to be. And the other thing on the freedom level, being in business for yourself, we all have the opportunity and the ability to do business who we want to do business with, right? I mean,
Oh,
there's been people that I've had a conversation with about potentially helping and doing business with, that I say, you know what, this may not be the right fit for you. There may be another broker that can help you better than I can. You know, and when I learned to be okay with letting someone go, um, you know, it comes back to me 10 times over, right? And
yeah.
I think it's a manifest of being able to give, right? You have to give to receive. So
Right. It's one of the best feelings to be able to say, no, this is not going to work out to somebody. Such a great feeling, and it's really honoring yourself, honoring your clients that do respect you and do connect with you. You want to do your best to save all the energy you can and not have it sucked away by a troublesome client, or like the customer from hell.
right, right, and you're doing them a service, as well, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
putting your best foot forward. And I think that's what, sharp entrepreneurs are all about. And number one, doing the right thing. I always tell my team, you got to do the right thing. It always has to be mission over commission, or, however you do it in your business. But
Yeah.
we always say mission over commission, because, if you are mission focused, you're going to have the highest level of ethics and integrity. And if you focus on the commission, well, then again, you're just counting dollar signs, and you're not worried about the end result for the other person. And that's just not the way to longevity in a business or into wealth, at least in my opinion.
Oh, agreed. And they can sense it too. That's what I found. If you're just in
Yeah,
it for the sale, your prospect is gonna be like turned
yeah,
off. They
yeah.
know.
We all, as humans, we all have human bullshit detectors, as I like to say, right, in our mind, and it comes through. Even you know the most non-intelligent person can detect that. So absolutely. Um, kind of leading with the theme here, Henry. My next question is, what would you say your mission is as an entrepreneur? I mean, I know you're kind of newer to the space, but it sounds like you've done really well. You have, kind of a focus central that you're working on. You're very passionate about it, which is awesome. And that's only going to lead you to big, huge things. So what would you say your mission is?
Great question there, Josh. So the people I like to work with best are coaches and consultants. Well, for many reasons. One, I've got 3 or 4 coaches myself and consultants, so I really value what they do. I mean, it's so powerful to have an outside perspective and just being able to ask those right questions and get like the perfect answer out of me. It's like
Mhm.
worth every penny. So I value it highly. The other piece is, and they do a lot of help with other folks as well. The other piece is, for whatever reason, this group specifically, especially like service people, they have what I've found a tough time translating what they do into the way the world speaks or the world thinks. There's a lot of jargon. There's a lot of these big words that people think, huh? I don't know. What do I need that, or do I not need that? So really being able to help these coaches and consultants frame what they do in the right words, it helps them in their business, and it speaks to these people who might otherwise have said no, and it helps
Mhm.
them as well. So it's really And I see myself falling into a coach role as well. So it's really just helping folks and using my experience. A lot of people have told me that, wow, Henry, you got a lot of wisdom in you. And I was like, yeah, that just means I got a lot of work to do, So that's my mission.
Awesome. What kind of coaching are you specifically referencing when you say that?
Yeah, it's a good
Like
question.
you being a coach, I guess I should say, right?
Me is more the marketing coach. Yeah, you would say.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of what Henry's Headlines is all about. It's no charge right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to change that or not, but people seem to like it. I've been doing the writing and doing the actual copy and headlines myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a piece of my business for sure, the done for you side. But a lot of folks like this coaching side of me. So we'll see how that grows. I mean, it's all about growing and adapting to what the marketplace wants. That's what it's all about, being flexible.
Yeah. I love how you say that. And one thing that I've noticed too is, when you think about it in some respect, there's a lot of people that may be in the same arena. For example, there's a lot of, quote unquote sales trainers, right? Just to name a few: Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, maybe, Grant Cardone, Jordan Belfort, all these guys kind of play in that arena. But when you really break that down, even being in the same arena, each person brings their own flair, and brings their own perspective. And that's what I love about, being in a community of rich entrepreneurs, is that, even if, like, and I know I started this out with saying, like, Henry's the headline guy. I don't want to have 3 headline people, right? And I mean that because, you are the great at that. And in my vision is to, showcase, one person in that, at least in the beginning, right? I'm sure down the road you could probably mentor some other people that, either work for you or take your reign. But it's about showcasing one person. My point to all of that is that, even if we were in the same space, we're going to have a different perspective. We're going to have different value points that we can bring to a client and to the marketplace. And that's truly what I love. They say podcasting is saturated and kind of overdone, but is it? I think it's just getting started personally. And for me, I didn't want to make this show about health insurance specifically. I wanted to make it more about entrepreneurship, not that because I was going for a broad niche, but simply because I really want to build a community. I believe in abundance, and I believe, and I think I may have said this before, if we have a community of, say, 1,000 people, and each person can strive to touch 1,000 lives, that's 1,000,000 people. And to me, that's an impact, right? And that's an impact in a positive, enriched way. It's not, it's not political, it's not religious, it's not greed. It's simply about helping people. And that's really what it's about for me.
Yeah, I love what you're doing with it, Josh. And just one quick point I wanted to note is, like, yeah, you mentioned all those different salespeople, and it's true. And what's people often miss, it's like, oh, I already learned. It's not that people, oh, I already learned from Grant Cardone, I'm not gonna have my ears open to Jordan Belfort. It's like, no, the people who are serious about sales and, like, improving their sales, they're gonna learn from everyone they can. And so, like, with you, like, it's not like, oh, I'm already listening to a podcast, so I'm not going to listen to yours. No, people have 5, 6 podcasts they listen to. So it's a total blue ocean.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And, Brian, just to speak on Brian Tracy for a second, this guy has read over 7,000 books.
Right.
If you can do some math on how many books that is, that's a couple books a week. Look at, Warren Buffett, same thing. The guy reads like 2 or 3 books a week. These people are elites because they put in the time that it takes, and then they have the passion, they have the vision, and they're on a mission. And I know I reversed it, but I just had to kind of flow into that for a second. Awesome. They really are about it. And to speak on your point, I mean, while Grant has, his stuff on sales, Jordan Belfort has his. I mean, they all come from a different perspective, right? It's like frameworking. The end result is to produce better sales, to be better at sales, but it's 100. It's like a million ways to make $1,000,000, right?
Yeah.
You can all get to the same result, but it's just the path that you get there. I liked a great quote that Zig Ziglar has. He says, motivation does not last, and neither does bathing. So that's why we recommend doing both daily.
Yeah. That's such a good one. So true.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, last question here, Henry, before we wrap up. And this is specifically pertaining, I would say to the past, 12 months, right? Since we've kind of been in this pandemic mode, or if you will. What is one thing that has accelerated your earnings through these times? And with this question, I want to kind of just highlight and show the audience, show people that, again, the opportunity is still as rich and there's an abundance out there. It's just a matter of how you go about getting it. So what do you have for that?
Boy, that's a whopper of a question. It's really, maybe I go lean on this it's like my go-to to lean on is just being really in touch with the marketplace and what people are comfortable with, right? I mean, in April of last year, you could think about people are kind of like, oh, what's this whole Zoom thing? Now everyone knows how to use it, right? So it's like just really staying on top of things and being that early adopter to whatever's coming out new, instead of being stuck in the, oh my gosh, like what's going on, is focusing on what you can do. So then folks like us, we've been playing on Zoom even since before this whole situation started, where you get a leg up on people. I think that's really what's been big for me, is to really understand what do people need right now, and then what are they comfortable with, right? Because you don't want to come up from up here when people are down here. You want to bring them up with you. So I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure if I nailed it quite, but
yeah. So if I heard you correctly, I think what you said was to know your marketplace, meet them where they are, and then bring them up to another level.
Yes, perfect.
That's awesome. So studying that theory alone has accelerated your earnings.
Yeah. So the way it showed up in my business is in the copywriting world and the email marketing world. There's a lot of like acronyms, right? Like your click-through rate, CTR, your open rate, your all this stuff. And what I found in the marketplace is people are just like, how do I set up an email like service to send marketing emails? So it's like way more basic than I've been trained. So just meeting people there and understanding like, hey, a lot of folks have just been pushed online and they're like, I have no freaking clue how to do this. And that's really where I found part of my niche, where I work with the folks who aren't so comfortable with technology, because I sure am, and I'd be happy to take some of that load off their back.
That's
so
awesome.
They keep kicking butt and doing their great coaching consulting business since even before they had to be online.
Yeah. That brings me to another point, really, that I don't think people embrace enough, and that is that it truly, it takes a team. Winning is a team sport. I mean, just to recap, the Super Bowl for a second here. I mean, the Bucks won the Super Bowl, while Tom Brady is, yes, the GOAT himself, Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, all these other players that they surrounded Brady with are the reason that they won the Super Bowl. And I think in business, it's very much the same aspect. You really have to embrace a team aspect and have the right people in the right places to be able to take yourself to the next level, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's why we signed on with Rook and his community. I mean, that's a team. We're not
Yeah,
hiring each other, but it's just, and it's being open to like, what does a team actually look like, right? There's a lot of different ways a team shows up in business, whether that's an
absolutely.
actual employee or a contractor versus, like a colleague that you could bounce ideas off of, affiliate partners. I mean, there's so much opportunity to work with other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, Henry, I want to thank you for the time. Thank you for sharing your message. Is there any final thoughts that you want to give, or mention your info again? henryheadlines.com.
Yes,
Um,
Henry's Headlines with S.com. Love to have you on Friday mornings. It's just a lot of fun. You walk out with a killer headline, and you come back next week, work on another one. One thing I do love to close with also is I'm always hesitant. I'm like, did I go a little harsh on the corporate world? Because for a lot of people, corporate's cool. My parents, that's what works for them. That's totally fine. I learned a lot from corporate, especially the fact that it just wasn't for me. So I always want to slip that in there of like, I'm not anti-corporate. It's just, it didn't work for me, and this works better. That's all.
yeah, absolutely. Well, as I say, let's make the ease up entrepreneur life. Our MVP today, Henry Klauke.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
All right. Henry, thanks again. Check out henrysheadlines.com. He's also on playforsuccess.com at noon Friday. That's Eastern Standard Time. Thanks again for checking us out, guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace out for now.